Hello.
Sigma 6, be a hero. G.I. Joe will turn the tide.
We're not doing that. We're not doing that. That intro was terrible, and I don't want to listen to it, even when I'm editing it. So, hi everyone. How are we doing today? I'm going to try something a little different, a little something else. I don't know. If you like it, let me know. If you don't, also let me know. But I want to give it a shot because might as well. Oh yeah, this. I'm just having a little chuckle. I'm actually going to take this off. It's super hot. That's better. There we go. Now, I love G.I. Joe. I have made that very clear through all my videos I've put out. I love G.I. Joe. It's been something that's been a part of my life since I could walk. I love it all. I love the movies, the comics, the games, the cartoons. Most of them. But I love G.I. Joe. And that's very evident by... I could grab more if you want. But to discuss what started my love for these toys, we need to go back to the year of our Lord 2005. George W. had just been elected president, Son of the Mask had been released, and Hurricane Katrina had just hit New Orleans. Jesus, 2 tragedies 1 year. But there was hope, for lo and behold, a new G.I. Joe series was about to hit shelves, and kids' cartoon channels across the world, mostly on 4Kids. Yes, of course, like any good cartoon, I mean toy commercial. I mean cartoon, it's a cartoon, it's not a toy commercial. There must come a toy line with it. And so the G.I. Joe Sigma 6 toy line was introduced, initially starting off with a respectable lineup of Duke, Seops Duke, Heavy Duty, Kamakura, Snake Eyes, Spirit Iron Knife, and Tunnelrat on the Joe side, with a ninja variation of the Cobra Bat, the Battle Android Trooper, as well as a Storm Shadow released individually in the line. There were 2 other released figures in this first wave, a unique Storm Shadow and Snake Eyes, with a DVD box set, which I had. That was actually my first Sigma 6 release. There were also other peripherals, of course. The set of the Cobra and Joe branded Ninja hover cycles. I had the Storm Shadow one, and a shockingly well-made replica of Duke's signature blaster called the Switchfire Multi-Mode Blaster. I had to look at my script for that because I tried to repeat that 3 times and it never worked. Not like any beloved franchise, G.I. Joe has a very vocal audience who like to announce just what they like and how they like it. Now, for most Joe fans, they prefer the 3 3/4 inch scale figures, like the original Real American Hero toy line, or the retro released figures, like the 25th anniversary line, which, you know, scales for about this. Now, for the Sigma 6 toy line, it was a little bit different because they were 8-inch figures, which you might be able to see a size difference. Well, maybe okay, maybe that wasn't perfect, but you know what Joe fans also like? They love the cartoon. They love the toys because they're super realistic, military designs, the Sky Striker, the Dragonfly, all these things that are hyper realistic, and what are the fans looking for? So maybe they nailed it in the cartoon.
Fabulous!
Now don't hold back. Be brutally honest with me. You like it? I think it captures the real me. But is it too much?
So maybe it's not your grandpappy's G.I. Joe. Maybe it's not your G.I. Joe. Maybe it's not even your father's G.I. Joe, but it was my G.I. Joe. It was my G.I. Joe growing up, and I will tell you exactly why it was my G.I. Joe growing up. Because of the toys. Because of Sigma Strike Duke. This was an amazing toy. Now, granted, it is almost 20 years on now, but this was a great toy when I had it when I was little, and I wish it still worked. I wish it still worked, because it had some sweet sound effects, as well as additional attachments here, like this whole assembly would pop off, and you'd lose all of them because you're a child and you don't care about keeping all your stuff together. I regret it deeply to this day. If you are a child and you are collecting toys, keep them in good condition. You're going to want them back when you're an adult. This was a great toy, even if it was absurdly large. These figures were absurdly large. I loved the little small scale, the 2-inch figures. I remember them so well, but this one was my favorite. Now this bad boy was basically the Master Chief Duke. I didn't realize that at the time because I didn't play Halo, but looking back on it now, it feels like Duke in the Doom Guy suit or the Master Chief Spartan armor. This feels like super buffed up, roided out Duke. We got a full-on jetpack back here, which, by the way, you could light up, but unfortunately, like I said, the batteries on this have long since been dead, and I haven't bothered to replace them, which I will at some point. Maybe I'll do that later, and you'll see it in the edit. But this thing was a monster. Like, even taking the backpack off, taking the giant gun out of his hand, which doesn't want to come out. It just wants to stay in there for good. The joints on these figures are so tight. Like, these toys they're on ratchet. You hear that? It's a ratchet joints. So this thing does not want to move. It wants to stay still in a static pose. The articulation on this, though, it leaves a little bit of desired. For a figure this large, the articulation it has is fairly limited. Like you have a ball joint here at the head, you have a swivel here at the lower waist, there is a ab crunch here, not a twist or anything. There's 360 rotation at the shoulder. Again, absurd ratchets. They just want to click in and out. And there is a swivel here at the elbow, but no double jointed elbows. There's a hinge here at the wrist, but these wrists don't want to hinge up or down to save your life. It's there, it just doesn't want to do it. And there is, of course, a hinge here, up here, the knee, at the upper thigh. There's a swivel here at the ankle, which is nice. There's this doesn't want to turn. The lower calf, actually, because it's not a swivel at the ankle, it's just a hinge. So the articulation does leave a lot to be desired. And also, this thing loves to spin. Mine, I don't know if it's just age, or if it's just the way that it was designed, but it just loves to spin like a Beyblade. Just spins like a top. This thing is a monster, but I'm still happy I had it because this is one of my favorite toys growing up. Like it really was. The Sigma 6 toy line was far from perfect. It absolutely was. It died in 2 years, 3 years, but this thing will stand the test of time for me because it's just a monster of a Duke. This is what I imagine when I think of Duke from G.I. Joe. I think of him in this suit. I think of him in the episode where he's in that weird kind of Gundam outfit because it was very anime inspired. It was actually done by a Korean studio, but it was a very anime inspired series. The designs were as well. I remember so well getting the boxes of the figures, and they had the crates that were attached to the box, so you could then put the accessories in a crate, which is something they're bringing back in a kind of way with the cardboard boxes with that classified line. It's nice, but it's not as good as that real plastic feel with the styrofoam cutouts for each individual weapon. Like, that was fantastic. I remember it so well. It's such a fond memory, and I love this guy. Even if he's not perfect, even if he's missing most of his parts, he's still a delightful figure. I mean, look at this sculpt work. I don't know how it's going to come across. I might actually... There we go, that's better. Now you get a closer look at this, and you don't have to look at my hideous, amorphous face. You get to actually get a good look at this figure itself. This thing is a monster. Again, I keep saying it, and maybe it's because I'm biased. Maybe it's because I grew up with this toy, because I have such fondness for the entire classified line. Sorry, not classified, Freudian slip, Sigma 6 line. I love the Sigma 6 line, and you know why? It's one of my favorites, because they did little details. One of which being, every single Sigma 6 figure had this, and you would always lose it. You're a liar if you said you didn't. The little wrist computer thing that they had, which was just like a little wrist PDA. They all had these, and they would always get lost. I have one left, and it's on this guy, and I'm so happy it's at least on this one. Just so many fond memories. And because I kept talking about it without actually bringing it in, here's this crazy jetpack fire gun, which has 3 buttons on here because there's actually 3 attachments, not including this one, which are a flame. There was a flamethrower, there was a saw blade, and there was just like a smaller version of this, like this gun, that you could plug into this, and they would each have different sound effects. You push a button here, you press the button there, it would light it up, but then you press this and the sound effects would come out. Like, this was so fun. These would light up as well. Like, that was a toy line to me. Like, that's some good toy line stuff right there. Just click a button, lights go off. It really, you don't get that much with toys now. And I hate to sound like a grandpa or a boomer here, but back in my day, toys were more fun to play with. Now I understand why that is the case not anymore, because kids don't much care for toys anymore, and that's fine. You know, let them move on to what makes them happy. But I miss the time when you could pick up a G.I. Joe figure at a store, and it would come with a vehicle, and the vehicle would light up. It would have like a button, and you could fire stuff out of it. I don't know. Again, maybe I'm sounding like a grandpa, but that's what I remember, and that's what always made me happy. And again, the classified line, I want to say, is amazing. It's a great line. I mean, you look at some of these figures, like, excuse me, Duke. Hello, Stalker. Like, this is an amazing, beautifully sculpted figure with wonderful detailing, hyper-realistic weapons and tools, and your articulation is fantastic, but it doesn't it doesn't hold that magic, you know, that feeling in your heart when you went to go to a store and you wanted to pick up a G.I. Joe figure or a Transformers figure or something, and you'd go through the aisle and you'd end up looking through the pins and the Toys R Us. You'd look and you'd see, try and find that one figure that you were looking for because you saw it in a catalog, and you're like, oh, did I find it? Did I finally find it? And you didn't. You never found it. But one day, maybe your dad found it for Christmas. So this is just something that brings back a lot of memories, and you might be able to tell because I am very, very happy to be talking about this. So, thank you very much for enduring this and listening to me talk about this not fantastic toy, but it's a fantastic toy to me. So please like, please comment, please subscribe. Please let me know if you liked this or if you thought this was a complete and utter waste of your time. I want to know sincerely what you thought. So thank you all so very, very much. Yo, Joe.
Now we know.
And knowing is half the battle.
G.I. Joe!